Borkowski, the most important witness in this case. She is one of the victims who was shot in the ear. You heard her testify. It was her ex-boyfriend who is on trial, Joshua Aide. And I have with me today criminal defense attorney Lara Yeretsian and, of course, law and crime analyst Mike Korbanics. I'm going to start with Lara. We greatly appreciate your patience. Tell me overall, I have so many things I want to discuss about Rebecca. What was your overall impression of that testimony? She's supposed to be the biggest witness of the case, and yet it started with multiple text messages reading back and forth. What did you think about that?
I mean, it was important, obviously, to establish the conversations, because through those texts, you could see that this individual, Joshua, was, at least at the time, an angry man, out of control, very possessive, was not taking no for an answer. And he was pretty much obsessed. He wouldn't stop calling her. He wouldn't stop talking to her. He wouldn't stop trying to get her back into his life despite all the abuse. And we could also see, obviously, that he's been abusive towards her. We're talking about physical abuse, that he's an alcoholic, who every time he drank, he would lose control and it would become abusive. I mean, it was a little tedious to go through these, but you know what? Imagine she was reading it in her own voice, and I think that is very effective.
And one thing that I was impressed about was the video when she was in the hospital and they were asking her, did you hear him say anything? Did you say anything? She was very cool and calm even after the injury occurred. What was your thought about that, Lara?
I mean, overall, you could see that as a witness. She's keeping her cool. You could see from the movements, from her expressions, that she's about to cry at some point, but then she collects herself. It seems to be her personality. She's somebody who seems to be the calm type, strong personality, able to hold the emotions in. But I agree with you at some point, and I agree with Mike, at some point, she might start crying, and the jury is going to see that. Even if she doesn't cry, honestly, you could see it on her face. I mean, at several points during her testimony on direct, I could see that she would stop, she would clear her throat, but she was just buying. You could tell she was buying time for herself so she could calm herself down. It's just the type of person she is. But and that also, I think, would overall hurt the defendant if it looks like he's going to be arguing self-defense. You know, someone that's cool-headed and calm is not someone who's going to lose control and try to shoot someone or threaten someone. So I don't think that's going to be helpful to the defendant.
Lara, let me ask you something. What do you think the defense is trying to do here on cross-examination? Is he trying to confuse the witness? Is he trying to make it seem as though the witness was lying about what he actually heard?
I didn't get the sense that they were trying to show that he was lying, because the witness comes across as someone who's unbiased. He's just a neighbor. He's not involved in any of this. He's got no reason to lie. Confused, possibly, but lying, probably not. He came across as genuine, as someone who's just not interested in, I mean, he's not taking sides. He's not biased. So maybe that's what they're trying to establish, the confusion part of it. But he wasn't really giving them much, honestly. He kept on saying, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if he really went towards. He just wasn't clear himself. Maybe a lot of time has passed since then. He's forgotten some of the stuff. It could be anything.
Lara, do you think, before we have to sign you off, do you think that overall this witness provided some points for the prosecution? In fact, that they actually established that there was the shooting and the individual was injured and he came to the door?
I guess, but I mean, how much of, I mean, I'm assuming that that's a given. We already know, even without this witness, I'm sure they could have established that John Miller was, in fact, injured and he did seek help. Basically, they're just trying to show that he did seek help and he was shooed away. I don't think he's a key witness, obviously. It's just usually the prosecution is trying to tell a story. And, there's different witnesses that you bring in as a prosecutor to complete that story. And he just basically is one small piece of that story. And that's all it is. I don't see him as a major witness. On the other hand, Rebecca is a different issue. She's probably the most important witness.
I agree. Lara, thank you so much for your patience. That's criminal defense attorney Lara Yeretsian.